Oprah Winfrey once said, "You can have it all, you just can't have it all at once." And a lot of moms who struggle to balance work, family, and personal time just assume that this is true. Well, sorry, Oprah, but this is a lie. Probably one of the biggest lies moms are tricked into believing. Not only can you have it all, but you can also feel great and be happy while you have it. Hi, I'm Sigrid Shelson, happiness coach for the modern mom here at The Joyful Mother. And I'm welcoming you to video 1 of this special 2-part video series I put together just for you. In this first video, I'll show you how easy it is to turn those negative feelings you experience as a mother, worry, self-doubt, fear, guilt, and exhaustion, into positive thoughts and feelings that energize you and bring you joy, fulfillment, and happiness. I learned these lessons the hard way. In 2003, I was a new mom to a beautiful daughter, married to this awesome guy and owner of a new business I was passionate about. I know what you're thinking, it sounds perfect, doesn't it? But that was really the problem. On the outside, I appeared to have it all, the perfect life, but inside, I felt just the opposite. First, I was completely overwhelmed by all the expectations I'd put on myself and how far I was from meeting them. My business was struggling financially, despite my tireless efforts to make it succeed. Because of my feelings of failure and worry about money, I increasingly closed myself off from my husband and my daughter as I spiraled into depression, and I was filled with guilt about not being the right kind of mother and wife. On top of that, I was expecting a second child, but instead of feeling blessed, I felt overwhelmed and terrified. I thought, I have no right to feel like this, not when I have so much. I am the one that's the problem. So I kept my feelings to myself. It may have looked on the surface as if I had it all together, but inside, everything was falling apart. Then one night, our friends Joe and Sandy invited us over for dinner at their home. As soon as I walked into their house, I did what a lot of people do. I began comparing my life to theirs. Sandy, like me, was self-employed. But as a freelance writer, her business was taking off while mine seemed to be going nowhere. Like me, she worked from home, but unlike me, she seemed to always have a lot of quality time to take her 2 kids to the park, do crafts, and play games with them. Oh, in their home, it was gorgeous. None of the clutter or kids' toys that completely filled mine. I went home that night thoroughly depressed. Sandy was just beaming with happiness and satisfaction with her life, a life that wasn't all that different than mine, while I had everything I thought I wanted and was miserable. I mean, I barely had the energy to take my 1 child on a walk, much less work on growing my business, clean the house, or God forbid, entertain. I thought, she must know something I don't. What am I doing wrong? So a few days later, I brought my daughter to Sandy's for a play date with her kids. I was determined to learn all that I could from this woman who seemed to have it all. Well, I really did learn a lot from her that day, but not in the way that I expected. Because as I watched her with her kids, I realized she wasn't all that different than me. Her kids cried and threw tantrums too. And while she talked to me and fixed the kids' snacks, she still had to deal with the stress of a ringing phone and a clogged toilet. In fact, her house wasn't all that much neater than mine was that day. But the real lesson came from watching Sandy. She was still the same Sandy I'd seen at the dinner party, so calm, taking everything in stride, still exuding such pure joy. Even with so many things going on in her life, so much to juggle, the stress seemed to roll right off her back, and that made her a joy to be around. After a while, I began to confide in Sandy about the difficulties I was having, my financial struggles, my fears about losing my business, my guilt over not being the mother and wife that I thought I should be. Then Sandy nodded her head and told me that she had gone through the exact same thing after her oldest was born. And then she said something I'll never forget. She said, "Then one day I thought to myself, you know, life is too short to worry all the time. I'm doing great here. I'm just going to decide that my life is great and I'm going to be happy about it." So I did. Then she kind of laughed and went back to playing with her kids. She had no idea that what she'd said had changed my life. I mean, wow, imagine that. I was responsible for my own thoughts. I mean, it was so simple, wasn't it? To just decide to think different things. Maybe no one but me thought that I was a failure as a mother, a wife, a business owner. I mean, there was my daughter, smiling and happy as she played with her new friends. She didn't think I was a bad mom. Maybe I was a good mother. And if I was a good mother, maybe I was a good wife, a homemaker, and business person too. And maybe if I decided to be happy, I would be. And you know what? It worked. I'm telling you, I just decided to think differently, to think better feeling thoughts about myself and my life. And you know that old saying, let the mind go and the body will follow? Well, once I decided to be happy, to think positive thoughts, things in my life began to change. Clients were attracted to my joyful personality. My business took off. And once I stopped worrying about all the things I wasn't doing for my family, I could be fully present with them, and our home became a happy one. Listen, there's nothing I can tell you that will fix all your problems and make all the parts of your life different. No magic wand here. And I'm not about to tell you how to be the perfect mother, because there simply is no such thing. No. What I'm going to share with you is this concept I learned that will help you find peace in all aspects of your life. And it will change your life, just like it changed mine. It happened when I did two very important things. First, I forgave myself for not being perfect. And second, I realized the key secret. We have the power to choose our thoughts. You see, all those thoughts I had, that Sandy was a better, more successful wife, mother, and business owner than I was, they were all thoughts that I put there. Life wasn't perfect, but she was happy. And because of those thoughts I was having, I was beating myself up. Were those thoughts true? Absolutely not. My conversation with her proved that. And then it became clear that if I could put negative thoughts into my head, could I just put as easily positive thoughts in there too? Instead of telling myself I was a failure, couldn't I just choose to think something else? It sounds too simple, doesn't it? Well, it is that simple. Take my situation. I felt guilty because I was so focused on growing my business and earning a living that I didn't get to spend that much time with my kids. I told myself that this made me a bad mother. But was that true? No, not really. In fact, it was just the opposite. My children were happy. And wasn't I also teaching them by example the value of pursuing a passion and working hard? Weren't they, by watching me, also learning lessons about entrepreneurship, managing household finances, and being responsible? Yes, that was true. And notice that nothing about that means that I was a bad mom. In other words, examine what's really true. See the negative self-talk for what it really is, and make the conscious decision to change it. Remember, the only one telling you what to think is you. Isn't that tremendously empowering? So here's what I want you to do. First, take notice of all the negative things you're thinking, that your mind is telling you, that you're not good at something, that something isn't working, that you can't do something. Isolate those thoughts. Then ask yourself whether those thoughts are really true. If they're really true, then practice turning them into alternative, positive thoughts and choose to think those instead. For example, one mom I know expressed guilt over wanting to leave her daughter with daddy so she could take a break. She said, "Aren't I a terrible mother for wanting to leave my child?" Was that true? Absolutely not. This woman was a wonderful mother to a happy, lovely child. So, couldn't we replace that thought with a positive one? Why not say, "I need a break to be the best mom I can be"? Or what about, "I'm so lucky to have a husband that offers support and has such a great relationship with our daughter"? Because those statements are true. But remember, challenging the conventional wisdom and the habits of your brain isn't a change you can make overnight. It will take practice. And you'll probably start off by telling yourself, "Well, I'm the exception. My situation really is that bad." But bottom line, whatever you're feeling, whatever your situation, no matter how bad you think they are, you have the power to change your thoughts. And as a result, the feelings associated with them. And what will happen is that you'll feel tremendously empowered, which will have a tremendous impact on the people around you. You will be amazed at the things that will start happening in your life when you decide to choose positive thoughts. And I want to hear about your successes, so please share them with me in the comment box below. And if you hit some bumps along the way, let me know about those too. And you're not going to want to miss the next video in the series, because I'm going to be blowing the lid off the biggest of all myths we as mothers hear, that being a mother is the hardest job in the world. In fact, it's not, and I'll tell you why in part 2 of the series. Thanks for watching for now. I'm Sigrid Shelson, and I'll see you in part 2. Bye.